Hello, welcome to Witness. I'm Rageh Omaar. The well-used adage that life is more about the journey than the destination is nowhere more true than in Peshawar, northern Pakistan. Toiling away on this border town that overlooks neighbouring Afghanistan are men and women for whom journeys have shaped most of their lives. John Butt's spiritual journey through Islam led him to set up a radio station and mentor local journalists to help reflect everyday life to the people of this region. This mountainous and beautiful area has been scarred by decades of war and upheaval on both sides of the border. It's been home to generations of Afghan refugees, but now the UN and Pakistan say Afghanistan is secure, so the remaining 2 million have to go back. I've known John Butt for years, and I went back to Peshawar to see how he and his team of radio journalists are reporting this latest upheaval in the lives of ordinary refugees on their programme Across the Border. What I found is that, like the refugees, they too are facing an uncertain future. Peshawar is a city synonymous with the turmoil and upheavals of Pakistan's northern tribal areas and neighbouring Afghanistan. But to me, it's always been one of my favourite cities, a real melting pot and a crossroad for many communities. It's also home to a close friend of mine, one of life's true originals. John Butt works as a radio journalist.
Let me introduce you to Rageh Omaar, if you haven't already seen him on the television. Yeah, we had dinner, we frequently come here.
Okay.
Have dinner now. You've set this
editorial meetings in...
He produces a weekly radio programme, Pure, Across the Border, which reflects the life of this troubled region. He leads a team of radio reporters from different parts of northwest Pakistan who he is mentoring. His programme was backed by a Western NGO, Internews, but they suddenly stopped the funding.
Over the last 6 months, unfortunately, we've had no funding whatsoever. You know, we're just so keen on keeping this going and feel so passionately about, you know, the importance of what we're doing.
In fact, they're so passionate, they've all been working for free.
Our style of journalism, we feel, is sort of different. Whereas most radio stations are communicating the voice of the elite, I think, to the masses. We're communicating the voice of the masses to the elite.
We live in a television age, but in the villages around the tribal areas, it struck me that here, radio is king. And it matters to people. John's programme is in tune with their experience and values.
The Pure program. Grano Ridunko Assalamu alaikum. The Pure program ta
our motto is traditional solutions for modern problems. You know, looking at the issues of the day as they affect ordinary men and women, and looking at solutions in the light of tradition.
John and his team have always survived on a shoestring budget. All they need to reach a wide audience is a laptop, their recorders, and microphones. Meanwhile, my colleagues from Al Jazeera News report on the continuing violence in the country.
A suicide bomber has infiltrated a Pakistani high-security army base, killing at least 20 soldiers. The attack happened at a Pakistani counter-terrorism force base in Ghazi Tarbela in Pakistan's volatile northwest.
John is mounting a local fundraising campaign. It's a difficult task to persuade local businessmen to give money to support a radio service that used to be free.
Our budget is about $500,000 a year. Maybe some governments who themselves don't know very much about Islam or about religion in general, maybe. They might be wary about, okay, what is this true Islamic tradition which is being promoted in these programs. Assalamu alaikum.
John is frustrated at having to hold out the begging bowl for Western aid. He's come to Hakim Shinwari, deputy leader of the Tribal Chambers of Commerce, to canvass his support.
Some of our elders don't like TV, but radio is the only thing which is very, very powerful, which everyone can bring to the home, to your bedroom. John speak in Pashto like other Said Nazir. We feel that these people belong to our society.
And that was very much, why I'm sort of hoping that the local people will support PACT, because, it is a program which is made by local people, for local people, and it tries to address local people's problems.
Yes.
So I feel it's only logical that the local people should support this program.
So the main point now is that through you and your position, to convince the community of businessmen that this is necessary for them and for the whole community.
And it will not hurt your tradition. It will not hurt your all other things. This is 100% pure for you people. I think I got a good response, but it is, I explained to Mr. John, that it will take time. It will take time.
I've been to Peshawar many times, but never with someone like John who knows the city intimately. He's British-born but came to the region as a young traveller over 30 years ago. He converted to Islam and has lived here ever since. So, I mean, it must have changed enormously, because I mean,
It hasn't changed.
Really?
Changed.
This market?
Yeah.
But expanded, no?
No. I mean, what can change? Because there's no room for it to change, is there?
That's true.
So in the old days, before there was radio and television, the main form of entertainment was stories.
Right.
So this was the center for stories.
Right.
And there were professional storytellers. And so it's called the Bazaar of the Storytellers. And Peshawar was a big stopping off point between Central Asia and South Asia.
Yeah.
But as far as like the storytelling thing is concerned, I think we sort of very feel, like in PACT, that we're sort of reviving that ancient tradition of storytelling, but in a modern type of format.
For John, it's his faith which inspires him as a reporter.
The fact that I came to journalism through a traditional Islamic education has been very important for me, But I think that, really, the muhaddithin, the people who collected the traditions of the Holy Prophet, they set out the greatest blueprint for good journalism, as far as I'm concerned. Because, they used to cross-check their sources, very, very scrupulously.
But do you, in your programs, do you talk not only about social issues, but about politics, about conflicts, about religion? You cover all kinds of subjects.
We cover politics as it affects ordinary people. But there's been a big peace jirga recently between Pakistan and Afghan tribes living on the border, which was sponsored by the respective governments also. A jirga is, a meeting, a big discussion. It's like a parliament.
The peace jirga in Kabul was the first of its kind. It was attended by President Karzai and President Musharraf. It lasted 3 days and 700 tribal leaders came from both sides of the border.
2 military helicopters circling over Kabul provides the first signal that the Pakistan president is in town. The idea of the jirga came about at the White House last year. Tension between the leaders of Afghanistan and Pakistan was clear. It's believed they only agreed to the jirga under pressure from President Bush.
But many tribal leaders from Waziristan didn't attend the jirga because they want peace in their own area before they can think about peace in the whole region. So true to their motto of traditional solutions for modern problems, John and his team arranged their own jirga to bring together some of the tribal leaders who went to Kabul with those who refused. And what I find remarkable is that those who turned down the invitation of the Afghan and Pakistani governments have accepted John's invitation.
Some elders who felt that they couldn't take part in that Pak-Afghan peace jirga. The elders like Malik Khan Marjan and his colleagues, why did they feel that they couldn't take part in the jirga? And they're also represented in this small jirga which we've called today. Two of the things that they'll be discussing are, one,
Should we look at the bigger picture and have peace in the whole region? Or can there be isolated peace in one area?
The outcome of the jirga was explained to Waziri leaders by Malik Daria Khan from the Khyber area, who was there.
The good thing that happened in the jirga was that the president said that if peace comes to Afghanistan, it will come to Pakistan. If peace comes to Pakistan, it will come to Afghanistan. The second point President Karzai made, and we were thinking along the same lines too. He said some people might be upset with NATO forces, but despite the differences, they should still come to the jirga and the door is open to them.
We in West and South Waziristan boycotted the jirga. In this current situation in Afghanistan, if the government doesn't involve the Taliban and Hikmatyar, without them, we can't imagine this situation getting better. And the violence which has affected us in the tribal areas will continue to get worse.
Do you think the Kabul jirga can be successful without having peace in Waziristan?
Peace cannot be bought by force. If that was the case, the Americans would have done it in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Amazingly, John's tiny program was able to get to tribal leaders from Waziristan and the Khyber area when Western news organizations often can't. So John, where do I go to, if you could show me on this map, to get an idea of the people sort of who didn't want to go to the jirga and where they are?
Yeah, well,
this is an area of the...
You know, the main outcome
areas
of the Kabul peace jirga has been that, you know, to try and engage the armed opposition.
The Taliban.
Which people like to call the Taliban.
Right.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, a Talib is someone who's a religious student and is studying very hard in his madrasa. For this purpose, you know, obviously, Waziristan is a center of this armed opposition.
Yeah.
And, you know, fortunately, we've got an office here in Dar es Khan. We'll be leaving Peshawar and going through the Kuwait tunnel and then to Kuwait and then to Karak and then down through Lucky Marwat to Dar es Khan.
Okay.
So it's like going from the top of the British Isles to the bottom.
Right.
And then we'll be going on from Dar es Khan to Tank and then after Tank into South Waziristan.